Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Theology Thursday. This week we're going to be taking a look at a passage from Matthew. It comes from the 13th chapter. It's verses 10 through 17. And actually, this verse came from Linda Farner. We're going to take a quick read through it and then talk about it for just a little bit. Then the disciples came and asked him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" He answered, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it has not been given. For to those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. The reason I speak to them in parables is that seeing they do not perceive, and hearing they do not listen, nor do they understand. With them indeed is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah that says, 'You will indeed listen but never understand, and you will indeed look but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown dull, and their ears are hard of hearing, and they have shut their eyes, so that they might not look with their eyes, and listen with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turn, and I would heal them.' But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. Truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it." So at the very end of the passage, that notion that truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people, they long to see what you see, hear what you see. To me, what that says is there are people throughout history who have longed to see the prophecies come true. The prophecies of a Messiah come to be with them, to watch what he's doing, to see what he's doing, to hear his words. Some of the rest of the passage is a little challenging and difficult for us to hear because we get the language of the fact that we won't hear, we won't see, we won't understand. The first thing to think about or remember is that this happens in the midst of Jesus telling some parables. So right before this is the parable of the sower that we heard in worship just last week. And so part of what happens then is that when the disciples come and ask him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" he's not just talking about why do you speak to the disciples, but why do you speak to the crowds? Why do you speak to the multitudes in parables? And sometimes he spoke to them in parables because parables could be relatable. When he talked about sheep or farming or seeds, people generally understood that kind of stuff in an agricultural setting. But in this particular instance, when we get to some of these passages, we hear about the purpose of parables. That's what this one's titled. This section is titled in my Bible, at least. And it says in verse 13, "The reason I speak to them in parables is that seeing they do not perceive, and hearing they do not listen, nor do they understand." And I think that at least in part, there's two things going on. One, Matthew is using this passage from the Gospel of Mark, and Mark has what he refers to, or we might refer to as, the Messianic secret. People don't know that Jesus is the Messiah yet. And he even tells the disciples to keep that secret throughout their time with him in his earthly ministry. So Matthew is trying to figure out what to do with that passage when he doesn't really have the same theology or understanding of a Messianic secret. For Matthew, though, I think when we look at this passage, it really comes back to prophecy. And that's what Matthew is big on. Matthew is writing to a group of Christians who were also Jewish Christians, right? So they have the background, they have that knowledge of prophecy. And so for him, it goes back to that passage or that portion from Isaiah that's quoted within the text. And it's, in my mind at least, pointing out the fact that it's not a matter of us seeing for ourselves, of coming to our own understanding or hearing. It's not a matter of our own intelligence or our own doing. That really what it's about is seeing and acknowledging Jesus. And it's not an understanding that we come into on our own. It's not some educational kind of exercise or learning in that way. It's about an experience of God. And so our ears being opened in some ways doesn't mean, it means it's not just a matter of us listening. It's a matter of God getting through to us. So Matthew has a little bit different purpose for this particular passage. The purpose of parables in general, and we're hearing a lot of them lately on Sunday mornings, and we will continue to even into the fall, They were a teaching tool, a common teaching tool in Jesus' day. And so Jesus used those as well. They were a common way to talk and to teach people at that point in time. Sometimes they're just harder to understand than others. We can overthink them, we can underthink them, but in this particular passage, I think we just need to understand it to mean that when it says that our ears aren't open, our hearts are dull, he's speaking to a people that they came and they saw what he did, but not necessarily because they believed. They came because of the spectacle. And so when we come to Jesus, we don't come for the spectacle. We come, hopefully, at our purest and our most faithful moments, we come because we want an experience and an encounter and a relationship with God. And so we don't rely just on our sight, just on our own hearing or ears, our own understanding. We rely on God reaching into our hearts and encountering us in faith. I hope that sheds just a little bit of light on that passage. It can be a confusing one when we get into some of the parables. If you have more texts that you would like us to explore in Theology Thursdays, I would love it if you would share them in the comments, send me a text or an email. That way we can explore some of those over the next few weeks as well. Take care and God bless.